Amid Aleph, Kumlan Black Gemara. Just before we learn the Gemara, I just want to share with you how the Rebbe learned the Mishnah, and he said how they learned in Gan Eden. What's interesting is that I had a chazan in my house as a guest for Rosh Hashanah a number of years ago, and who comes from Crown Heights, but he wasn't from Lubavitch or Chabad. And I asked him if he has any stories with the Rebbe at all, or his parents. He told me that his grandfather, before he passed away, called him in, and his grandfather told him the following: that his grandfather came from Slabotka, and they escaped in 1939, and he escaped to Paris with his Rosh Hashiva. He said Rosh Hashiva knew every word of Gemara by heart, every word in Rashi. And they went to the Pletzel in Paris, and they sat in shul and they learned all day during 1940. And one day they were learning Gemara Menachos, and they got stuck on a Taisus. And, there was for him there, and it was sad, whatever. And they spent a day or more on this Taisus. They couldn't make headway, and the Shiva said, we're not moving forward until we understand what Taisus wants. We don't understand what his answer is on his question. We don't understand his answer. Anyway, the Rebbe, then, it was a very young man, went into that shul to take a sefer. He wanted to look something up. So his Rosh Hashiva, this is the grandfather telling the story, sees this person by the Shvarm bookcase. He says, "Younger man, have you ever learned Gemara Menachos?" So the Rebbe said, "Yeah, he once learned it. Did you get to this and this daf, whatever the daf was?" He says, "Yeah, he thinks he did." So he said, "Well, we don't have a choice. We need help. We're stuck in this place and we can't move forward." So the Rebbe asked him which Taisus was it, and the person told him that the first words of the Taisus, the heading. So the Rebbe, standing there in the bookcase, said over the Taisus, and he translated. And when he translated the question, they realized they learned the question wrong, and therefore they couldn't make headways in Taisus. So the grandma said, "I was so impressed." The Rebbe was standing there and nonchalantly was saying over Taisus word for word, but then the Rebbe walked over, and the Rebbe asked him, "Do you have any time on the hands?" And the Rosh Hashiva said, "That's the only thing we have here. There's a lot of time with our heads." So the Rebbe said, "Are you interested in hearing how they learned this Taisus in Gan Eden?" So the Rosh Hashiva didn't understand what the question was. Anyway, the Rebbe explained the whole Gemara the way they're learning Gan Eden. So after the Rebbe left, the Rosh Hashiva turned to me and he said, "I met people who are, Boki B'Shas, what the Rebbe did over there. I knew people who could do the same thing. But I've never met someone who told me how they're learning Gan Eden." He said, "I didn't understand really what the Rebbe said, but it was so lichtig, it was so light, I felt like I wasn't sitting in Gan Eden." So in 1942, the Rebbe said a pilpul in the Gemara Bava Metzia to the Bachim in Yeshiva. And he said, "I'll teach you how they learn the Mishnah in Gan Eden." So I'll just briefly tell you, because it's a long, long thing, and it's actually been printed. It's called Shnai Marizim Talis from the Rebbe, from the Shimis, but there's a pilpul the Rebbe said in 770 in 1942. But kids, the Rebbe saying, "This is how they learn the Mishnah." In the Mishnah, I'm not going to go through the Rebbe asked like 30 questions. I'm not going to go through all the questions. But for example, it says Shnaim Eichzin Betalis. I should have said Shnaim Shahayu Eichzin Betalis. Two people that happened. There's a story. Shnaim Eichzin Betalis sounds like it's constant. They're always holding on to the talis. And why a talis? Why not anything? Well, pick example of a talis, and that already is asked by the Rishonim. Many, many questions. In the Bryce and Tosefta, it adds a third case. In our Mishnah, you have two people holding on a talis. Each one says the whole thing is mine. Two people holding a talis. One guy says the whole thing is mine. One guy says half is mine. And in Tosefta, it adds two people holding a talis. One guy says the whole thing is mine. The other guy says a third is mine. So he gets a sixth, and the other guy gets 5/6. So Rebbe says like this: there's a tug of war going on between the mashpia of the person and the person. The person thinks that everything that he does in Avodas Hashem is all credit to him. He's the one who has to go through the struggles with the Yetzer Hara, so therefore it's all him. The Mashpia says the only reason why you're able to overcome your Yetzer Hara is because I put you on the right path. I taught you how to deal with it. And we know that mitzvahs are compared to garments, levushim. So they're arguing about who gets the credit for the mitzvahs. So you have three kinds of people. You have tzaddikim, you have beinim, and rishayim. The tzaddik doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. So the tzaddik says, Kula Shali, all the credit for the mitzvahs is me. I'm the one who's doing the mitzvahs because I have no Yetzer Hara. The Mashpia says, why do you think you don't have a Yetzer Hara? That's because of me. So each one claims. So we make you swear. Swear is something that comes from the inner recesses of your heart. So when it comes the inner recesses of your heart, then you realize that everyone has an input in it, and there's no me and you and everything else. The next case is a Beni. A Beni has a Yetzer Hara. So he says to the Mashpi, at least give me 50% of the credit. My Yetzer Tov is pretty strong. Okay, maybe you get the credit for vanquishing my Yetzer Hara and I was able to win, but for what the Yetzer Tov did, I get credit. Half at least is mine. And the Mashpia says, why do you think the Yetzer Tov was still there functioning? Because of me. And the third case is a Russia. A Russia is Yetzer Hara is dominant. But he still has a little bit of the Yetzer Tov there. So therefore, he said at least a third. What do you mean a third? Because every person has three partners: the father, the mother, and Hashem. Okay, so the Russia says, my father, my Gashmi is my mother's partner. They're all bad. But the Eberste in me, a third, is mine. Give me credit for that. And the Mashpi says, no, why do you think the Abishur was able to, third was able to function and have a hashpah on you? Because of me. And therefore, that's the argument there. And then the Rebbe continued explaining, see, every beautiful. Anyway, I just thought we'd give you a little what learning is like in the upper celestial spheres. Okay, in a nutshell, we are up to right now, and Abchini came along and made a chiddush, and he said, that if I made it to a part claim, I have to swear the balance. So if Adim make me swear part claim, surely I have to, they make me pay, I have to swear the balance. And how do we all know that? So we make Hatzad HaShavah. We take a number of cases together, my own admission, if a witness comes and makes me swear, and then and then we said also from Gilgash and all that, we put everything together, and as a result of that, we say, you know what, and therefore we know that you have to swear on the balance. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? We're up to the last word of the line is, the last few words. You know what all of these have in common? You're not. We haven't established you're a liar. When you admitted to part of the claim, we haven't established you're a liar. When you would swear to the Eid Echad, we haven't established you're a liar yet. It's only one witness against one word against your word. In the case of the witnesses, Reuven says you owe me $100. Shimon says I don't owe you a cent. Come along to a witness and say, what are you talking about? We know you owe at least 50. So that means you're a proven liar. How can you make him swear? So how do you know in this case that the aid didn't make you swear in the balance? And apart from that, why even trust you? So Gemara says, well, the aid, not necessarily the person's a gane, because we know who's the kafir, because witnesses find you a liar. Doesn't mean you're a liar when it comes to a loan. If I deny you ever lent me money, I'm still a kosher latest. Why? You gave me the money legally. You had every right to spend it. I'm not paying it back. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm a ganef or I don't want to pay you. Maybe I just don't have the money right now, and this is a delaying tactic. True, it's a big chutzpah, but I don't have a choice. But pekadon postulated by pekadon, if you gave me something to mind for you, and I say you never did, and then witness say yes you did, and we're talking about where the witness say we still see it over there in your place, so you can't say I was procrastinating, I'm trying to find it because we saw it in your barn. Then it's postulated. So the chayda. It's a good kavachayim now. Edim from Peh and Eidech. Ella Porichach. This I still have a question. What kind of kavachayim? The tzad hashavah has no toilet hazama. In other words, you okay, Peh. If you say I owe you money, and we say, what are you talking about? You weren't even around at the time to say you borrowed the money. Nobody can contradict my own admission. But even Eid Echad, when we do contradict the Eid Echad, what do you mean he borrowed money on Monday? You were with us. But the Eid Echad, even though he's found to be a liar and we reject his testimony, but he doesn't have to pay money because two witnesses, if they're found to be liars, we penalize them. Whatever they try to do, they have to pay. But Eid Echad doesn't do that. So there's a weakness by witnesses that you don't have in other places. So maybe witnesses cannot, bring on the shur. That doesn't bother here. Whether you pay money or not, that's not a weakness or a strength. The reason why by Eid Echad you don't pay money is because he never asked for money. We'll do today Echad whatever you want, but what can we do? All he did was he asked for a shvua. So what are you going to make that Echad swear what? On the other hand, when it comes to Eidim, they wanted the guy to pay money, so we'll punish him pay money. So that's not a weakness or a strength. So therefore, we have a valid kavachemer that if you admit that you're part of the claim, you have to swear in the balance. So if Eidim make you pay part of the claim, you definitely have to swear in the balance. But okay, good. But the raya he brought from Mishnah is difficult to understand. Remember, Rav Chia brought a proof from Mishnah, and that is as follows: two people holding on a talus. So he says, let's take the principle and forget the details of the case. Reuben is asking Shimon for the value of a talus. let's say $100. Shimon is denying the whole thing. He's saying the whole thing's mine. So Shimon is saying, I owe you nothing. We, the witnesses, the court, sees Reuven holding onto part of the talis as if Shimon saying, yes, part of it I owe you. So it's like a case of Moed Mixes, but not that Shimon admitted it, Shimon denied it. It's the witnesses, we. So we see clearly, and what's the din? You have to swear the balance. Isn't the Mishnah proof? That's what Chia says. I have a problem with that. In the case of Rab Chia, Reuven says Shimon owe me $100. Shimon denies it, and Reuven has two witnesses to corroborate his timing. Shimon has no evidence to prove his side. In the case of the talis, just like Reuven has witnesses that he owns part of it, Shimon has witnesses that he doesn't know that the other part does not belong to Reuven. Each one of them has witnesses because both of them are holding on to the talis. Totally different case. In fact, why do you swear in our Mishnah? Nothing to do with Meidin and Mixes. It's like we learned yesterday. Rabbi Yechon said it's as a deterrent. We don't want people walking around saying, he found something. Why should he be such a chazik? Keep it all for himself. I'll take half of it. So it's merely as a deterrent. Nothing to do with Meidin and Mixes, our Mishnah. That he doesn't know anything. If, for example, if the loiva would in Amchi's case would have had witnesses that he does not owe the money, then he went to swear. Each one of them has witnesses. No, they're not. Each one is saying that half. Remember saying at least half. Always, all the witnesses. No, all the witnesses are saying is whatever you're holding on to is yours. We're not saying that the whole talus is yours. So each witness is talking about a different section of the talus. So we're not contradicting each other at all in this case, in our Mishnah. We don't know about the other half. All we know is about this half. And the other guy, a witness, say we know about this half, not about the other half. So and why are you swearing in our Mishnah? Nothing to do with mixes. It's to do. No, it's true that because what you're holding on to, and what you're even though it's the same bezin, but it's like two separate stories. Hello. So we go back. So Abchia's din remains, but you cannot learn from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah's Shavua is merely a deterrent. So we can now learn another din of Rab Chia, and we say that's what he learns from the Mishnah. When he said that our Mishnah supports him, is the second din of Chia. And Rab Chia is the same case as before, but one variation. And that's called Heilech. Heilech means, okay, Reuven says to Shimon, you owe me $100. And Shimon, what do you call it? Shimon says, I owe you $50, but here it is. Here it is. And that's called Halach. So it's a normal case is Reuven says you owe me $100. Shimon says I owe you only $50. So the Bezin will rule. Shimon pay the $50 and swear in the balance. Here we're talking about he says Halach, nadir. Here's the money. So because I say here's the money, it's as if I already paid it back to you. It's as if that claim is off the table. So all you're really asking me for is not $100 and I give you $50. You're only asking me for $50. And $50 I'm a for hakel. I'm denying the whole thing. And a kavod hakel is potter. So you might say that halach you are potter. Says Abchi, no, you're chayiv. Even though I said halach, I said here it is. We still look at it the total picture, and the total picture is it's a partial admission, and therefore you swear in the balance. Not like Rav Sheshes who will say that this is potter, because the part that I'm saying here it is, it's no longer being discussed. The Bezin doesn't have to rule on it. What's it to rule? I'm paying you right now, and. So we're gonna get here. Eat more money. All you owe is $50. The halach, and here it is. Chayiv. My timer, because I hold halach. Now make a time for me. The halach also is as if you're being made the mixes, as if you're made the mixes. Now, what exactly is halach? So Rashi says it's talking about a loan, and the money you originally gave me is still around. And this caused a big controversy because when you give somebody money as a loan, they have a right to do with it whatever they want. So even if I didn't spend it, is it still the lender's money? The moment the borrower took the money, it's his. It's the borrower's, even though he didn't spend it. But Rashi seems to say, as long as you didn't spend it, it's still the balabas's. So others say that Rashi is not talking about a loan. He's talking, because by loan, what does it mean? He's talking about a pekudin. I gave you money to mine for me. And therefore, because he gave money to mine for me, wherever the money is, it's as if I'm saying, lender, take it back. I don't have to physically give it back to you. I'm just saying, lender, here, take it back. And that's as if he paid it back. Rab Chia says you still look at the total picture, made the mixes, and comes along the Rab Sheshes and will say, no, it's two separate. Whatever I say, you can take it back as if you took it back already. And the balance that you owe me is not a balance. That's a new claim. It's a separate claim, and I'm a kavod hakel. Should be part. Now he brings it out my Mishnah. What's our Mishnah? To bring it right from Mishnah. Here, keeping the toughest and non-side toughest. It's like Heilige. Whatever he's holding on to is not just Shimon is admitting to Reuben the part that you're holding on to. I owe you. It's as if I gave it to you already, but Reuben is holding on to it. It's like Heilig. And yet, what do we say in the Mishnah? That Reuben has to swear that the other half, has to swear about it. So what do we see from here? That Meidim mixes, you swear even in the case of Heilig. Uktani Shavi, you swear. Says the Gemara. Rav Sheza Heilig Potter. My time, my wide hold Heilig Potter. Even the omelet, because he told him, Heilig, Hani Zuzi de Kamoide Begavai, that money that he is Moide, Kamada no Klamaudim, as if he gave back to him already. Now the Gemara clearly says Malda here. So those who Shainim I told you who learned Pshat and Rashi, we're not talking about a loan, because a loan was still sitting by me. How is it as if I gave back to Malva? It was talking about a Pekadon, they erased the word Malva. The Ina Chamish, the other 50, Holomaida. I'm a Kaifer Hakel. The other 50, the first 50 I gave back to you already. The other 50 I'm denying totally. I'm a Kaifer Hakel. Hechaleka Hoydod mixes a tiny, there's no Hoydod mixes. Says he more of Shesh's Kashma season, so why are you swearing in our Mishnah? So we'll say what we learned before. Our Mishnah's Shua don't do the mixes. It's like Rabbi Yochanan, it's a deterrent. And people shouldn't go grab other things. Says the Gemara, the Idach. And what's Abchir then saying? He also agrees Takanah Chacham me. Me, however, when do the Chacham make a Takanah if it makes sense or they emulate the Torah? It has to have some, basis in the Torah. So if you say generally Heilich is Chayv, even though here Heilich is not exactly the same thing, still it's close enough that I can make it Chachamim, they should swear. They should be deterred. But if you hold Heilich is completely potter, so really in our Mishnah should be potter, the Chachamim will not come and create a new shul when there's no basis for it whatsoever. If there were generally Heilich is Chayiv, then I can say Misak the Rabbanan Shul that I said the Rabbanan made a shul similar to the Torah. Eliyamim that I say Heilich potter. If you're telling me potter Misak the Rabbanan Shivua, the lesser the Kabbalah that I said is not based in the Torah. So now we're going to ask a few questions. We have an example of Heilich, and we will see whether Heilich is Chayiv or potter. Okay, Meisher, I'll ask you a question. A guy wrote a document. Reuben lent money to Shimon, wrote a loan document, but they forgot to write down the number of dollars. It says, I lent you dollars. The word he uses is sloyim dinarin. I lent you sloyim. I lent you dinarin. But it didn't say how many. The only logical conclusion is that it's two. And if we didn't bother writing it, it's two, because the minimum of plural is two. But that's not what happened here. What happened here was, Malva Amar Chaimish. The Malva said, I let you 5 slay. The Leiva doesn't say 2. It would have looked all right. But Leiva says Shalosh 3. Is that a Maida b'mixes? Rav Shimon Lazar says, Hoyel b'hoyel mixes taina. He's asked for 5. You're Maida to 3. Shabbat, you got to swear. Pay the 3 and the swear in the balance. Rabbi Kiva says, Eina ela k'meisha v'aveda. This guy is a good guy, an honest person. If he's a liar, he could have just said 2. And if he would have said 2, he would have gotten away with it because the star says 2. So he's a Meishav Aveda. And because he's a Meishav Aveda, Potter is Potter. That's what the Bryce says. Now, I owe you more than what the star says.
Yeah, which means
but
identified it. So.
But because it's Heilich, one second, see in a minute. Because I'm right now he's saying, I'm a Meishav Aveda, I'm a good guy. You, the Malva, would not have a chance in the world. If I would have said 2, you wouldn't have to swear. We'll see in a minute. If what happened would have said 2. But Lachayr is a nice guy by adding more than what the star says, so therefore we'll trust him. That's the classical case of Meishav Aveda where I am being generous and there's no need to be generous. Sorry? He's Mothership. Is he lying? Yeah, true. So he did, and he's still a Meishav Aveda. He didn't have to admit that. Meishav Aveda means you don't have to do anything. The other guy has no proof. So, but you're Chaychi, he's lying right now as well. Why are you making swear in the balance?
We don't know.
So why? But we're Chaychi.
He doesn't remember.
But he's saying I do remember. Clearly it was 3. It was clearly 3. So if your Chaychi is a liar, they could lie too. That was in a minute. Says the Gemara. Let's analyze this. Tani Mias, according to Shimon Lazar, and this version we're focusing on Shimon Lazar. He said, Hoyel v'hoyel mix a tiny shava. You have to swear combined mixes. It seems to me, why 3? What would we learn 2? Would he have to swear on the rest? No. Why not? It's still made the mixes. It's because A star, a document, is so powerful as if the lender already collected it. So whatever's written in the star is as if it's halach. So if he would have said two, I owe you two, would be end of story. You give the two, you don't have to swear in the balance. Why not? Because it's halach. You gave it to him back, right? Because the document says two. So that's why we're discussing three. Clear that halach is potter. In other words, as if I gave you the two, and we're only discussing three, and I'm a kaifer hakel under three. Says the Gemara, time at three. Hoshtayim potter. Why? Bahai stade kemoide behelach, because the star is halach. Shmamino halach potter. Clear the halach is potter. Says Gemara, no. There's another possible understanding why. Maybe you're chayiv for two. Maybe you're chayiv and two, and halach is chayiv. So why argue about three? Let's argue about two. The chiddush of three is a chiddush that two would be chayiv according to Rabbi Akiva, but three you're potter because you're a Meishav Aveda. That's why we talk about three, to teach you the novelty of Rabbi Akiva. If it would have been two, halach is chayiv. Rabbi Akiva would be mighty. You said two, mighty the mixes, you got to swear. Three, that you didn't have to say three. You're being a nice guy, and therefore you're a Meishav Aveda. It's like mother, let them time chayiv. But Hayd doesn't know why it says three. Halach is chayiv. La fukim is Rabbi Akiva. Don't Meishav Aveda potter. K'mashalon the mighty the time have a chayiv. Says the Gemara, so the reading is right. So what do you tell me? Two, you definitely have to pay. The chiddush is Shmuel holds three you also have to pay. So why does Rabbi Shmuel say, since you're Moedim mixes, everything is Moedim mixes? Should have said, and this is also Moedim mixes. You're telling me that two is Moedim mixes, but three is also. So why Ihachi Rav Shmuel says, Hoy Moedim mixes Tani Shabbat, because he's a Moedim mixes. Avzei Yishav Bailei. Should have said, you're also Moedim mixes. Eloy Stein Potter. Mer says, really, two is Potter. Halach is, but not because of Halach. Halach is Chayiv. So why are you Potter by two? You know why you potter by two? Nothing to do with halach, because the star is corroborating you. We ask ourselves, why is there no number on the star? There's only one possible reason. Either he made a mistake, he forgot, or because all it is two. So why waste the ink? The star supports him. Really, halach really is potter, and over here by two, you'd be chayiv. Really halach is chayiv, but here you potter because the star is corroborating your version. Inami. Now here's a big chiddush in Gemara. What are we arguing about? A document. Every time you lend money with a document, there's a lien on property, which means whatever the outcome is, how much I owe you, it affects property. And we have a rule: you don't swear about properties. We learned we had the end of Baba Kama an argument. If you learn from ribu yimid to ribu, if you learn ribu yimid, you learn klal prat klal. By the and all that. If you learn klal prata klal, it has to be similar to the prat. So we excluded three things: on property you don't swear, avodim which are similar to property you don't swear, and on star which has no inherent value you don't swear. But if you learn ribu and ribu, we exclude very little. The one that's the furthest away from what we're talking about, property still has value. The only thing you remind it is star, because star has no value. It's just representative of value. It itself has no value. So, but if we follow klal pata klal, then you don't swear on property, which is what we pass. And therefore, you know why you don't swear over here? By two, because two is written in the star, and you don't swear about. You don't swear about it, but the not shvir. That's why you don't swear. There's no way to really halach is chai, but not in this case here because it's tied to the karka. So Taisus asks a very fundamental question and changes the whole halacha around that you would not know unless you know the Taisus. So Tzei says, how do you ever swear by the mitzvahs? Every loan, every documented loan is connected to a property. So when do you ever swear by the mitzvahs? So Tzei says, it's, you know when you swear by the mitzvahs? When the person is destitute, doesn't have a property in the world, either that, or the lender said, you know what, don't worry about the property, you don't have to pay me property. So why in the world did you make a star? Just to make sure you pay me back with cash. Make you pay me back. So Tracy says the whole mitzvah that we talk about is limited only to a guy who has no property in the world, never sold a property, never owned a property, and so on. And then Tracy continues, even if it was not documented, a milva apeh, an oral loan, okay, you cannot go to the buyer, but you can go directly to the borrower, his property. So it's still connected to properties. So any loan, there's no mitzvah b'mitzvahs unless the lender says, you know what, I don't want any security. Which lender would say that? Don't know. I don't want any security for properties, or this guy is so desperate to have a property in the world and you're lending him money. Look how you took a din that's so prevalent and you limit it to nothing. Anyways, fascinating. Anyway, continue. Unless you hold shibud alav deraisa, that whole idea of shibud on property is not from the Torah, which is similar to test and the long shachte in Chesh Mishpat has a discussion with the halachas. Anyway, continue. However, Ika, others focus on Rebbe Akiva. We just focus on Belazar, we prove Heilich, we say that for argument's sake that Heilich is Chayiv. Let's focus on Rebbe Akiva. You know, Rebbe Akiva says, you make Rebbe you're potter, right? If you say 3, he's being nice and he's potter. Time, he said 3. Hush time, it's clearly when it was said 2, be Chayiv. Why is he Chayiv? Because the mixes. I is Heilich, doesn't prove Heilich is Chayiv. The star right here, the doctrine as if he gave back. Rebbe Akiva says 2, he's Chayiv. 3, is being a nice guy. No. Really, 2 is also potter because Heilich is potter. So why argue about 3? Let's argue about 2. Just tell you that Shimon Elazar holds that even 3, even though you're being a generous person, you have to swear. It just to bring out the argument between Rabbi Akiva and Shimon Elazar, we need to have 3. Because the third dollar you're admitting to, you're being a nice guy, and how do we treat that? So therefore, that's why we're talking about 3. But really, 2 is also potter because Heilich is potter. So the Gemara and Hochinam is in fact, it makes sense. Because if you can tell me 2 is Chayiv, right? If you can tell me 2 is Chayiv, and the guy admits to 3, is he really being a nice guy, or he thinks to himself, if I would admit to 2, true, I pay less, but I have to swear false. If I admit to 3, I pay a little bit more, but not the full $5 that he's claiming. I don't have to swear. Does that make him a nice guy? That makes him a stute. If Isa that the Stein Chayiv shows hey Hakim give exempted by 3, Haya Rumi he's tricking us. So but he thinks, I mean, if I say 2, we have to swear. Hey Mashalish, I'll say 3. I'm a nice guy. I'll be potter. I'll be potter. 2 is potter. 2 is also potter because I say that Heilich is, according to this, Heilich is potter. In fact, Taisus concludes that the halach is like Rav Sheshes, that Heilich is potter. Ela Kashel Rav Chia. There's a problem Rav Chia. Why Taka 2 is potter? So it's not because of Heilich. Shiny Hoshim said the story before, because the star supports you that all you owe is 2. There's no number there. Why is there no number? Because probably all you owe is 2. Yinami or should have the star Shibakakois, the Einish boy not Kvidah Shibakakois. And we said before. Masim Mazut Nachman has a question. We know there's a general machlekes. If I ask you for wheat and you answer me, I don't know you any wheat, but I owe you barley, is that considered, I say you owe me $100 worth of wheat, and you admit you owe me $50 worth of barley. Is that called Maida B'Miktzah because the Hada is not Mimin Hatayna, and so on. But here we're talking about, and as Taisa concludes from this Gemara, it seems clearly that even though it's 2 separate species, minim sorts, categories, nevertheless, it's considered. We look at the whole picture. So now, what I did was Tanu Kalim. I asked you for Kalim and Karka. Now remember, Karka you don't swear if you made the mixes, you don't swear Karka. But I asked you for Kalim, a whole bunch of Kalim, and a whole bunch of property. So when it comes to Karka, it's a total denial. Or you made the Kalim. You're potter because you're there's no made the mixer when it comes. There's no swearing by Karka. And on the Kalim, you were either made it completely or you denied it completely. Okay. You are potter. But however, the mixes kakais. If you you ask for 2 properties and I say only 1 potter because you don't swear on property. But mixes kalim chayv. But if you admit to some of the kalim, you are chayv. Chayv sure. I have to give you back whatever I admit to, and then I have to swear. But now, once I'm swearing on the kalim, I swear also on the karka. What the trigger of the shvua was the kalim. So once I'm swearing, you can do on karka as well. It's like Gilgul Shvu, or like we learned that Zoiking, the Chassan, the Chassan have no Chais, pull along, drag along, and the Chassan have a Chais. Okay, so now it says, Taima, the only reason is because why you don't just swear when you're made on Kalim and you deny Karka, for example, Taima, the Kalim, the Karka Labashwi. Karka cannot bring you to a Shvu. Okay. Ha, Kalim, the Kalim, Dumi, the Kalim. It wouldn't have been the case of Kalim and Kalim, but the same case, but Kalim and Kalim. It would mean, some Kalim you admit to, some you don't admit to. But Dumi the Kakais. What do you mean similar to Karka? That I'm giving it right back to you. Halach. What's Karka? Wherever it is, it belongs to the owner. So Kalim, which are similar to Karka, means I'm giving it back to you. It's like Halach. Sounds from me, but if it's been Kalim and Kalim, I will be Chayv B'Shur, even though it's Halach. And but what about Kalim can't do with the Kenakais, similar to Kenakais? For example, the Kalim is sitting right here in the front of the bezin, right here. So here, Shmamana Helichai. The only reason why I put it could happen to be karka. You don't swear in karka, but it happens to be Kalim similar to karka, sitting in the bezin. I'm saying, here, take it. It would be chai, like Rabbi. Saying, well, no, let him can't get down, put your potter. Well, you can't make a kois. You always says can't kois. I'll come out and teach you that hoide b'miktas kalim chayv afaka kois. Here's a big chiddush that kalim that you talk be what do you call it? You always be potter in this case. If it's halach, you potter. The chiddush here is the second part that if with Tafka talking about Karkoy to teach you that once you get me swearing on the Kalim, you can also drag that, extend or expand that shua to include Karka. That's a big chiddush. Because normally we would have thought you never swear on Karka. And now we're saying it. Once you're swearing on the Kalim, you know what? And it's all part of the same claim. Go ahead and swear on the Karka as well. That's a big chiddush. So that's a chiddush. My kamash is like that what? That once I make you swear on the Kalim, it expands to the Karka. Something we learned already. We learned Zoikigin. We look at the whole sugi there. Zoiking the chashish and the chashish that mobile portable things. That's swearing on that. It also drags along karka. You're right. Here is the what do you call it? The iker. There it's only the well, the man don't have a potter. Now that's a question. The one who says halach is potter. In other words, he holds. If I gave back to you, it says if I gave back to you, it's no longer here. And all we're discussing is the other claim, and I'm denying totally, is a my itzel krolamuti karka meshur. Why do you ever need a pasuk to tell me I don't have to swear on property? Taser already points out there's no pasuk, it's just a klal klal. But why do you even need a klal klal? Every karka is halach because karka cannot be stolen. Whatever it is, it belongs to the original owner. So if I'm admitting to any, even a section of the karka, whatever I'm admitting to, as if I get back to you already, and the rest I'm denying totally. So of course you don't swear. What do I need a special limud to tell you that property you don't swear? Says Gemara, he says, "It's a crow." You know when you need a pasuk, Heicha the chafa baboides shichel. What am I going to ruin the property? He dug pits in it and everything else. So therefore, it's no longer the many different explanations of the shiny. But the idea is that since it's no longer the original property in the state that I stole it, it's no longer here. Take it back the way it is. It's not the way it is. I have to reimburse you and so on and so forth. So there's no halach here at all. That's when we need a cloud project cloud that still you don't swear. What if the other way around? What happens? He was made in the kalim, complete kalim, and he completely denied the karka. Over here, you would have thought, well, it's made. If it would be just if we didn't have the cloud, part the cloud to exempt you from karka, I would say, well, it's a case of made in mixes. I should have to swear, right? There's no halach here because I'm denying the property. Halach is when I admit to whatever property. Here, I'm admitting to the kalim. I'm denying the property. So the chayda, there's no halach here. So I should have to swear, like a regular case of made in mixes. Comes along the cloud, partner cloud says that you don't swear on property, regardless you deny it, you admit it, you don't swear on property. So quickly touch my religious and then Baba Kama. Tanya Melchama, Abba Shemim, the four Shemim, let's say Shemim Chidim. Sichin Kfida, and he said was stolen. They need Kfida mixes, Vahida mixes. It says in the pasuk Ki who's there, remember we had an argument that Rabbi Melchama said it says Ki who's there that a Shemim in order to make it to be chayiv, it has to be a partial admission, a partial denial that you need 3 cows. And what one cow I say, yes, 100%, I owe it to you. Here, take it. The other cow, you never gave it to me. Or I give it back to you. And the third cow, it died, it was stolen, or died by accident. So I should be put. It has to be 3 cows. And the one that's in dispute, 2, one you made, one you deny, and one that's questionable. And then you make all the shvuos. So Shem Mechina, for example, if it was said it was stolen, so he's potter, or Show says it died from work, or Neisa Sacher who says that it died by accident. Heichi dummy. Since you need 3 cows, one of them he says, here, take your cow. That's halach. Halach. And to get the dinners, you have to swear. You have to swear. And yet to make it so the halach versus like no. The cow that he's admitting to, he said, died, and I'll pay you. Died, let's say, and he said, it died, my fault, so I will pay you. But I didn't pay him yet. No, if the Gemara thought the cow was still alive, and as soon as he says, look, it's your cow, take it. It's like halach. And yet you're making him swear. So he says, no. He's saying that the case was, when we say you need 3 cows, one cow he says, you never gave me. Baba Metzia.
Saying I owe you.
That's why it's not halach, but it's a now you have a key who's there. One I admit, One cow, I admit I killed it, and I'm totally responsible. I admit it. But it's not halach. I didn't give you the money yet. I have to pay you. The other cow you never gave me. And the third cow, it died by accident. The other guy says, one never happened. And one of them died in action. One of them died. So one I made it. One of them died my fault. I have to pay you. And the third one that you're arguing, I'm telling you, died by accident. That's why he has to swear. The being the lad it's not halach. Okay, we'll stop here. See you tomorrow. So because the times are starting to get later, we might have to start looking a little bit later. We'll see how we go tomorrow. But we'll start tomorrow. So far it's 7:05. We'll see what happens. We have to delay it. Okay, because then